If you're looking to have portable power that you can bring with you, or to have something that's for essential home backup, and you don't want to deal with a gas generator or a propane generator, you need something that is always ready, then the battery power generators that are now out are a really good option. So I want to touch on those. I've done a video on this previous one. This is a Jackery Explorer 2000, but this new one that I'm going to show is the Jackery Explorer 3000, which is a essential home backup generator. What that really means is that it's designed to give you power for your essential items for a couple days. And so an example of that would be like your fridge. So this could power your fridge for probably about 2 days. If you're smart with how you use it. But you can plug in some more stuff like your, Wi-Fi router, your internet modem. You could plug in your cell phones, and so that's what I really want to touch on and show you. And in fact, right now I have mine set up as a UPS, so that's an uninterruptible power supply for my home office setup. So what this really for me is, hey, if I lose power at my house, I can go, and if I look on the screen here, is showing me that I'm pulling about 200 give or take watts of power, and what I'm powering is a desktop computer with two 32-inch monitors. I have a speaker soundbar, I have two external hard drives, then I have a laptop that's powered on with a screen, and then right beside it I have, I think it's a 25-inch screen, and in fact right now my phone and my watch are also charging on a charging dock, and so that's all plugged in to this single Jackery. Now right now it is getting AC power through that orange cable that's behind it, but I can literally unplug it just as though my power went out at any second, and nothing happens to my computers. They all stay on, and they will continuously run for about 12 hours of them all up and on. So this will easily give me a full days of work using these without any power. That's not even the coolest part, because you can also hook up solar power to this. So I have a 500 watt solar generator that I can lay out and be cranking 500 watts. I'm going to test it and see. Right now it's dark, so I can't prove it out, but we'll show that here next, of me testing it outside and verify how much power do I actually get in Michigan, where not the probably most sunniest or highest UV, but we'll see what kind of power we can get to charge it up. Right now it certainly should be able to meet the 220 watts of power that I'm using, which means I would not use up any battery during the day with this on. Alright, so there we have, you can see about 330 or so watts that it's putting out right now. This is kind of late afternoon, so not directly above us, but these are the solar panels, obviously just thrown out there. If I put them all in the same angle, I could get them a little bit better, but it's quoted at 500 watts. That would be maximum. Let's go into a little bit more details of this Jackery unit and what it means for you. Right, so I'm going to grab this cord, I'm going to unplug it. This is going to take the AC power off. Now right now you can see it's actually in like a pass-through mode, where 0 watts is going in because the battery of the unit is already plugged in. So it's basically just passing through, and it can do 1440 watts I believe in a pass-through mode. But on battery mode, it can do 3600 watts, so 3.6 kilowatts of power output. And then this one has 3000 watt hours of energy in it, which is a measure of how big of a battery pack is it. Something to note is that having the pass-through mode is actually a key feature, because a lot of them don't have it. Just because they have a outlet that you can plug in and they have output does not mean that they can act as a UPS system, because what the unit has to do is it has to match the frequency of your input voltage for the output voltage for it to work. And that one here on the top right is showing me that I'm 122 volts at a 60 hertz rate, and it's saying that it's connected. So if I grab this cord here and unplug it, you can see all my devices stayed on, and it did flip over there, but now it's showing you that it has the power coming out, and it's saying about 11 12 hours of time that it will last like this. So that is the uninterruptible power supply feature of this unit. Alright, so this unit, it's not light, it's about 70 pounds, so it is heavy, but it has some nice handles that you can pick it up with. Alright, so turning these on is super easy. It's nothing like having to crank up a gas generator or having like a carburetor. You just press one of these buttons. So here I have DC power on. If I click that button, it now has AC power kicked on. And then that's going to power up these four 110 volt. These are standard outlets there. This outlet here, it would be for like a RV unit. That's a 30 amp 110 volt outlet there. Obviously, it's got a 12 volt car cigarette plug there. And then we have some USB ones. So these USB ones, can handle charging your phone very easily. If I plug that in here, I already have the DC one powered on. I can see it's showing 9 watts of power that my phone is taking, so 35 minutes for it to be fully charged. So it supports up to 100 watt here of USB-C coming out of there, and 18 watts for the USB-A. Now, probably one of the cooler things as well is that these have Wi-Fi, and so I can hook up my tablet or my phone to this. You can see here I have my two units. Obviously, the Explorer 2000 is turned off right now, so it's not connected. But my HomePower 3000 is this one. I can connect to it right here. It's showing me that I have 100% power. It's showing me the battery power, or sorry, the battery temperature, and I can plug it in right here. And this is going to show me the output there, so I can see that it shows 9 watts of output. It shows that the DC is on. I can click that off, and this also shows you how many hours left it has before it runs out of battery power. So it's about 100 hours that it says. Obviously, my phone will be well charged before then, but I can also click it off right here, and that will turn off that green light, which shows me that the DC conversion is off. I could click on AC from here and get that kicked on as well if I wanted to. And then I can also adjust the screen there of, do I want it to stay on, do I want it to turn off after 2 minutes, or just leave the screen off to save that little bit of battery power. And then if I have my solar hooked in here, it would show me a graph here of how much power was generated. So I haven't done that yet, but I will do that tomorrow, and we'll see how well it generates the power in the unit. And then you do have some other settings that you can click in the top right here, where you can share this device with someone else so they can control it with their phone with the app. You can obviously change the name of it. You can also change the charging settings. When it is charging, the default is this fast charging mode. It takes about 14.2 amps from what I saw of power charging, which is pretty high. Quite frankly, I was surprised, and that does charge it up pretty quickly. The only caveat I would say is most standard home circuits in the US are 15 amps, so 14.2 is pushing it. And if you have anything else on that breaker that is high power, if it's a a coffee maker or an iron or microwave, something like that, that they're high power by themselves, you might actually trip that breaker. So just something to know, if you do have that issue, probably the easiest way to fix it would be this quiet charging. I don't have that issue. You could have other things plugged into it and still have excess there. But the quiet charging mode, honestly, this is it running. You probably can't hear it, neither can I. There are a couple times when it's running a lot of power out or power in that you do hear some fan, but it is not loud or obnoxious. But if you do find that annoying, you could click the quiet charging, and that will slow that down. Energy saving mode, for me, since I'm using this as a UPS, so an uninterruptible power supply, I wanted to never go into power saving mode, because if all my computers are asleep, they don't pull a lot of power, and this would see that and say, hey, it looks like you're not using me, so I'm just going to turn off. But I obviously didn't want that because I wanted to keep everything powered up. So I have it set to never. I think by default it is 12 hours. And in the working mode, you can have this set up as the default is this battery setting mode, where it's just going to fully use the battery from 100% down to 0, and that's it. For self-powered, here is where you can have it more rely on solar, and then you're going to optimize when you want it to discharge or use solar between here. So you can adjust these settings here. And then charging plan, this is also if you want to make a plan based off your peak or off peak for power. So here you can define when you want it to charge up. So for me, my lowest rates are 11 p.m. at night till I think 6 a.m. in the morning. So I could set that as the best time for it to charge up. And then you have the auto off time that you can set for when the unit automatically turns off. I got my serial number, I got my firmware upgrade. I've already been updated, so I'm good to go there. And then lastly, I can see some device specifications. So this will show you here that it's this right at 3,000 watt hours, or a little over 3,000 watt hours. It shows you that it's a lithium iron phosphate battery. AC output 3600. I showed you about all these little specs in here. And then you can see, okay, sorry, I said 70 pounds. It's actually 60 pounds of weight. And then you can see the dimensions there, as well as the temperatures. And then in the bottom there, you can see the 3+2 year warranty that they offer. As well as in here, you can get the user manual. So if you have any questions, you don't have to keep the paper copy. It's right here in the app that you can go through and read all the details there.